Good afternoon. I'm Cher, the Shadow Walker, and I'm taking a look at cryptid sightings in the prairies of Canada and the Midwest of the United States in the past 48 hours. I'm going to start with Alberta today. In Alberta, on April 9th at 10:45 p.m. in Kananaskis country near Peter Lougheed Provincial Park area, two people, they witnessed a creature moving parallel to the ridgeline. Witnesses reported a heavy rhythmic thumping and three distinct wood knocks before seeing a tall, dark figured silhouette against the snowpack. And they reported it to the Alberta Sasquatch organization. And a dog man on April 8th at 3:15 a.m. in the Horse Thief Canyon near Drumheller, a long haul trucker on Highway 838, so that's right up here past me, reported a large canine figure standing on two legs at the edge of the canyon as it dropped off. It remained stationary while staring toward the road before dropping onto all fours and disappearing into the brush as the vehicle approached, and they reported it to the Dogman File of Canada. And a hellhound, or black shuck, on April 9th at 1 a.m. in Strathcona, rural area, east of Edmonton, one property owner pacing the perimeter of a livestock fence described as an oversized black dog with eye shine that appeared unnaturally bright. No vocalizations were heard, but the witness noted a total silence in the surrounding woods, and they reported it to the private paranormal research law, and that's the Edmonton chapter. And a Mothman, April 10th at 5:20 a.m. in Lethbridge, in the high level bridge area. Three commuters, so three separate commuters, witnessed a large bird-like man with a wingspan estimated at 10 feet was seen perched on a steel support of a bridge. It reportedly took flight as the vehicles passed, heading southward towards the coulees. One witness described the dull reflection from the creature's eyes, and it was on the cryptid scan. And a spider humanoid, well, this is our first one in a while, on April 8th at 11:30 p.m. in the Nordic Abraham Lake area, two night photographers observed a skulking or crawling, they're not sure which one it was, multi-jointed limbed moving along the rocky shoreline. It moved with a jittery, non-fluid gait that witnesses described as insectoid despite its human-like size, and they reported it to the regional cryptids tracker, the Alberta. In Saskatchewan on April 9th at 3:45 a.m., the St. Louis, south of Prince Albert, the old abandoned rail line, two local residents, witnesses reported more than just the traditional ghost train light. They described a shifting shadow that moved between the trees near the old tracks. The light reportedly changed from white to dull, pulsing amber as the shadow moved towards it. And they reported it to the Saskatchewan Paranormal File. And Bigfoot, which they call the Zuby, at 11:15 on April 8th in the Torch River area, northern Saskatchewan, one person, a driver on Highway 35, a large, upright, hairy figure was seen at the edge of the tree line. Witness stated it was massive and cinnamon in tone, standing perfectly still until the headlights hit it, at which point it stepped back into the timber, and they reported it to the Bigfoot Mapping Project, local Canadian log. And a dog man on April 10th at 1:30 a.m. in the morning in the Witchcan First Nations outskirts, I hope I pronounced that right, two security patrol people, a wolf-like humanoid reported at the perimeter of a clearing, pacing. It was described as having high-set ears and a barrel chest. It vocalized with a low vibrating growl that could be felt in the witnesses' chests before it retreated into the bush, and they reported it to the Dogman 2026 File of Canada. And a Mothman / spider humanoid. On April 9th at 9:30 p.m. in Turtle Lake, that's central west Saskatchewan, three anglers Sightings of a spindly, spider-like humanoid crawling along the underside of a pier. It moved with unnatural speed, using multiple points of contact. When the witness shone flashlight, it dropped into the water without a splash and was not seen again. And they reported it to the Cryptid Trackers Saskatchewan division. I wonder then, like, you fish and pull that up on your line. I've pulled up a lot of things on my line, but never that. A hellhound. It was April 8th at midnight in Columbus Hills in the Rock Glen area. And this is a rancher. A large black canine with glowing eyes was reported near the cattle enclosure. The witness noted the livestock were dead silent and huddled in the center of the pen, while the entity sat on a nearby ridge, seemingly watching. No prints were found the next morning despite the soft ground, and it's reported to the Hellhound file. So in Manitoba, on April 9th at 11 p.m., in the Interlake region in the Grindstone Provincial Park area, this is a late night person that was out there, observed a large, dark, upright figure wading into a shallow marsh. The witness described a foul, swamp like smell that proceeded by the visual of it. The creature appeared to be searching for something in the reeds before retreating into the dense timber as the boat spotted it. So I guess they were in a boat. And they reported it to the local community trackers. And a dog man on April 8th at 2:45 a.m. in the Duck Mountain Provincial Park near the Saskatchewan border. One person who was a ranger on patrol, a massive wolf-like headed humanoid, was reported standing on a service road. The witness described an intense feeling of dread and a mental pressure often associated with the soul-reading encounter, before the entity vaulted into the trees with a single leap and vanished. And it was reported to the Dogman file, the Manitoba branch. And a spider humanoid in the just a minute. A spider humanoid in the Grand Beach Provincial Park. Sorry, they moved that on me. On April 10th at 1:15 p.m. And this is the east side of Lake Winnipeg. And this is 3 teens that were out there at night having a campfire. Reported a spindly, long-limbed creature skittering across the top of a bathroom structure. Its jittery movement and non-human speed, and it appeared to have too many elbows. It disappeared over the roof line when the flashlight was shone on it, and they reported it to the regional cryptid scanners. And a Mothman on April 9th at 8:50 p.m. in the Birds Hills Provincial Park near Pine Ridge Line. 2 equestrian riders. This is interesting. Haven't seen that. A large gray-winged creature was seen silently gliding between the pine stands. It did not flap its wings, but seemed to float through the air. The witness noticed the horse's extreme agitation for minutes before the sighting. Yes, animals always know. And it was reported to the private paranormal database. And a hellhound on April 8th at 11:30 p.m. in the Glimley near the historic waterfront. And it's a dog walker. So the person and their dog, they spotted a large black ink dog with amber red eyes, was seen sitting near a Viking statue. The witness's dog refused to move and began to whimper. The entity stood up and simply faded into the mist, coming off the lake without making a sound, and they reported it to the local hellhound file. In Montana, on April 9th at 11:15 p.m. in Bear Canyon near Bozeman, 2 night hikers, a large bipedal figure was seen crossing the trail approximately 50 yards ahead of the witnesses. They reported a heavy, musky smell and noted the creature was nearly invisible until it moved, bending perfectly with the shimmer and the mist as often reported in the canyon. It was reported to the Bozeman Paranormal Society and the Bigfoot Mapping Project. And a dog man on April 8th at 2:30 a.m. in the Blackfeet Nation outskirts of Bowen, and it's just one person. The witness saw a massive wolf-like humanoid was reported standing near a residential fence line. The witness described it as having backward bending hind legs and a luminous yellow shine to its eyes. It appeared to be observing the domestic dog on the property, which was uncharacteristically silent and terrified. And they reported it to the Bigfoot Project. And Hellhound on April 10th at 1 a.m. near Deer Lodge, near Old Montana Territorial Prison. And this is two urban explorers. A large canine with jet black coal canine with glowing red eyes was seen pacing the perimeter of the prison walls. The witness reported the entity had no audible paw prints on the gravel and seemed to dissolve into the stone. It should be visual, not audible, when approached with high intensity flashlight. And they reported it to the Hellhound File and the National Sightings. And a skinwalker on April 9th at 4 a.m. in the Little Bighorn battlefield area. One person, which was a security/maintenance worker, reported a distorted coyote that appeared to have human-like shoulders and an unnatural gait. The entity was seen mimicking the sound of a cry of an infant to lure the witness towards the ravine. The witness did not follow and retreated to the security of their vehicle, and they reported it to the regional tribal law enforcement and to a private cryptid log. And a Mothman or spider humanoid, which one was it? On April 8th at 9:45 p.m. in Butte, near the Berkeley Pit, three people, they were commuters in separate vehicles. What they saw was a thin, multi-jointed humanoid was seen scaling an industrial fence, so it's spider-like. That's spider humanoid. At the same time, a winged figure was reported gliding over the pit surface. Researchers are investigating if these are two separate entities or one shape-shifting into a different form. So, and they reported that to the Hellhound File. And a Montana active in the past 48 hours. It has been incredibly active in the Bear Canyon area and in the Deer Lodge corridor. And also major reports near Little Bighorn. So for anybody that's in those areas, heads up. In North Dakota on April 9th at 11:30 p.m. in the Theodore Roosevelt National Park, the North Unit, two photographers observed a tall, dark figure estimated at 8.5 feet. Moving through the ravine, it was seen drinking from the creek before it sensed the witnesses and let out a metallic sound vocalization, and then it scaled up a steep embankment with ease. Sorry. And they reported it to the Bigfoot Mapping Project, the North Dakota section. And on April 8th at 1:15 a.m., a dog man in the Killdeer Mountains area. So this is a ranch, and this is a ranch hand that was on the property, witnessed a massive canine-headed creature leaning against a haystack. The witness noticed that it was standing on two legs, adjusting its position as if it was scratching its back on the hay. And when he shone the spotlight on it, the creature turned and showed its amber eyes and then sprinted off on all fours. And that was reported to the Dogman File. And a hellhound on April 10th at 12:45 a.m. in Fairmount near the river, and it was a late night driver, witnessed a coal black dog the size of a pony. It was sitting in the middle of the road. As the car braked, the dog stood up and melted into the ditch. The witness reported that he could feel a sudden drop of temperature in the car and static in the air. And he reported to the National Paranormal Registry, Northern Plains note in brackets. And a skinwalker on April 9th at 3:10 a.m. in the Fort Bethford Reservation outskirts. Two people reported an animal that looked like a malformed deer attempting to look through a second-story window. It moved like a human, and it had human-like elbows, and it made sounds like a distorted whistle. It retreated towards the Missouri River when the resident turned on their exterior floodlights, and they reported it to the local tribal elders. And a spider humanoid at 10:50 in the Bismarck area near Memorial Bridge, 3 cyclists. A spindly, long-limbed humanoid was reported clinging to the underside of a bridge structure. One witness described it as having the proportions of a spider but the size of a man. It remained motionless until the cyclist called out, at which point it dropped towards the water and vanished into the darkness. And they reported that to the cryptid sighting log. And that's it for that area. In Minnesota, on April 9th at 3 p.m., in the wooded acreage near Rochester, one person who was a real estate agent surveying a property, the witness discovered a 24-inch footprint and unusual hair samples caught on a barbed wire fence. A large upright figure was seen briefly moving through the dense timber at the edge of the property line. The sighting was characterized by heavy crashing sounds as the entity moved through the bush, and they reported it to the BFRO. And a dog man on April 8th at 10:15 in the Chippewa National Forest near Lake Cass, Cass, C-A-S-S. 2 fishermen reported a canine-like humanoid crouching behind a large pine tree on the shore. The witness noted the creature had slender, long hands with opposable thumbs braced against the tree trunk while it appeared to be watching a deer. It did not acknowledge the witnesses even when they shone a light at it from about 40 yards, and they reported it to the dogman file. And a hellhound on April 9th at 2 a.m. in Angkor, the Halloween capital area. One witness, a security guard, a large black canine with unnaturally bright eyes, was seen pacing the perimeter of a local cemetery. Said the air became static prior to that, and the radios went staticky. And they reported it to the private security company that they worked for and to the hellhound file. And a Mothman in Duluth area on April 9th at 11:45 p.m. near the aerial lift bridge. 3 witnesses, they were late-night tourists. A man-sized bird with dull red eyes was reported perched on the upper steel girds of the bridge. It remained stationary until a foghorn sounded, at which point it unfolded its massive wings and glided towards Lake Superior without flapping. And they reported that to the cryptid file. And a skinwalker at 4:30 a.m. on April 8th in the Boundary Waters Canoe Area Wilderness. 2 people, early season campers, reported a tall figure with grayish skin and an unnaturally jerky gait. The entity was seen mimicking the sounds of wood chopping axe, so somebody chopping wood, to draw the campers away from their fire. They remained in their tent until sunrise and reported a chilling dread that lasted several hours, I'll bet. And they reported it to the regional tribal elders and a private cryptid tracking log. And a spider humanoid on April 10th at 1:30 a.m. in Benjamin, the rural outskirts. A homeowner saw a multi-jointed creature crawling up the side of a barn. It moved with too many elbows, they said, and was able to traverse the vertical surface at high speed. The witness said that it looked like a man stretched out into a spider shape, and they reported it to the National Cryptids. In Ohio, on April 9th at 9:15 p.m. in the Portage County area, a wooded area near the Manitou Center, and this is 2 homeowners. They observed a massive 8-foot-tall bipedal standing near the tree line. Said the domestic dog, their dog, was freaked out and was shaking and refused to even bark. It wouldn't move. And they said that the entity moved with a heavy fluid gait, and it went right into the deep brush when they shone the flashlight on it. And it was reported to the Bigfoot Mapping Project of Portage County Cryptid Tracker. And a dog man on April 8th at 11:40 near Norfolk and Western Railroad tracks. And it was witnessed by a railroad night shift worker. Reported a wolf-like headed man standing near the old station area. It was described as having a barrel chest and fangs visible in the light of the yard. It remained stationary, watching the worker before leaping a perimeter fence in one single bound. And they reported it to the Dogman file and to the Ohio Magazine Cryptid database. And a hellhound on April 9th at 1 a.m. the outskirts of Columbus near the historic prison site, and it was a late night commuter, and he saw a jet black canine with glowing eyes on the side of the road, and he reported feeling that intense cold, and he said there was a raspy, distorted sound on the car radio as they passed. The entity did not move and did not react to the vehicle. And it was reported to the national sightings. And there is a Mothman sighting on April 10th at 4:30 a.m. in the Rio Grande area near the border. 3 people. There were 3 separate truck people. Oh, it's at a truck stop. Sorry. They're not wording that right. It was a truck stop and it was 3 employees at the truck stop. A large gray winged figure with shining red eyes was seen gliding over the Ohio River. It moved silently and stayed at an altitude of roughly 50 feet before pulling upward into a low cloud cover. And they reported it to the Mothman Research Committee. Not sure where that is. And a spider humanoid on April 8th at 10:50 p.m. in the Turnbull County area near a rural farm. And it's 2 teens, and they saw a multi-jointed, spindly thing crawling along a tobacco barn. So it was climbing up. And it was described as having too many elbows and moving with a jittery insect-like speed. The witnesses noted that it appeared shimmery or slightly translucent in the moonlight. And they reported it to the cryptid scanners. And that is it for that area, the Midwest and the prairies of Canada. Thank you so much for listening. I greatly appreciate your time. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I appreciate that too. Have a wonderful weekend. Thank you so much.